obviously welcome. I've done this once before previously when it was an in-classroom session and then went out onto the field. So this is my first online Welsh Athletics course delivery. So bear with me. I'm pretty sure most of you have gone in and out over the last 18 months of various presentations, various meetings where what you plan and what actually happens are sometimes two separate things, which actually is kind of announcing and commentary. Expect the unexpected. So bear with me. If something I planned doesn't quite work, we'll adapt around it and we'll kind of go from there. So tonight's course, again, I've got a rough idea that it probably won't be far off an hour 15. But again, you know, we'll see how we go. It was unknown of how many would sign up. I think we got a nice number tonight that we can interact. But it's obviously if we were top level of numbers, then it would have probably cost a little bit more time in terms of the tasks that we do and making sure everyone gets a bit of an opportunity and a voice. So so announcers course online, unbelievably, it's the 11th of June already. So, or it might feel like it's a lot later than that, depending on what's going on. So let's see if I can click on, there we go. So those that don't know me, my name is James Thie. I'll go into a bit more background about my journey through kind of the sport and through into announcing and commentary. But I'm current director of athletics at Cardiff Met. I'm also one day a week now part of Welsh Athletics looking after endurance. I'm around pretty much every aspect of the sport, from coaching to tutoring to running myself. So I think going through today, obviously, there we go. So going through introductions of the course outline. So going to go through obviously what we're going to be doing. But as I said, ask any questions as we go. No small questions, no big questions that can't be answered. It's an interactive platform. Little bit of an icebreaker, get us talking literally off the bat. Bit of a practice of announcing. Bit of a discussion between, and it's one that sometimes is brought up at meetings, or you might have seen it, be in a conflict sometimes. But the difference sometimes between announcing and commentary, or actually where they kind of intertwined and interlinked. So then a little bit of the art of commentary, link it in. There's often things like presentations. There could be often interviews at certain events. Some of the tools you might need. And then looking at a kind of summary of everything that kind of goes into the package itself. So when we at as an icebreaker, I'm literally going to introduce myself in a lane in athletics. And I'm going to get each of you, right, here we go. So in lane one, from Llanharan, currently in Llanharan, representing Welsh Athletics. He's the current coach to the Cardiff Met Endurance Group and Team Thie, a former international runner, now running still on the Masters circuit. Give a very warm welcome to your tutor and a former Crufts winner, James Thie. So thank you very much for your introductions there. I think with anything straight off the kind of bat is just being able to do something like that, being able to talk about something, seeing a bit of humour in whatever you're talking about, any kind of hang-ups that you have, park them at the door, because any event will be much better with someone giving some information, will be much better with some kind of atmosphere of that. So, anyone literally get that confidence by just picking up the mic. And something as simple as that, just introducing yourself, is a really good way of practicing the kind of information you might give, what info that might be interest to someone else, and something like that. And try and make it a bit more fun where you can. So as I promised, a little bit of background about my kind of journey. You're going to maybe have your own journeys that you've maybe done a bit of announcing, bit of commentary already. Some of you might not have been, even had that opportunity yet. So your beginning might be tonight. So the reason I've got Subbuteo, anyone remember the great game of Subbuteo? Yeah, my childhood was literally playing Subbuteo, and I would like to think I had lots of friends. I often did obviously play against other people, but often I was playing mini Subbuteo matches with myself. and I was always commentating on it. So it seemed to be as if I was a match of the day commentator, announcing the teams. It's only when I look back on it that I suddenly thought, yeah, that was probably where I kind of started my commentary and announcing journey, was announcing the Subbuteo lineups for each of my home matches. The other one that I had a really kind of positive experience was the old Wednesday when Athletics Weekly used to come out. And again, I used to devour each page of that, each article, results. And again, at the time, my family used to laugh about me, and they used to obviously mock me for my ability to pull out statistics from some athlete in Kent that I'd never met. But actually, a few years later, it actually played a really important part of having loads of different bits of information, a bit of knowledge, having devoured it. Now, I do admit I don't, and I can't remember many of my key family's birthdays. But I do know what a Solihull athlete ran as an under-17 in 1990 for 3,000 metres. Now, you could argue which is more important. But when obviously you're commentating or giving information, they don't want to know about my family birthdays, but they might want to know a little bit of background about the athletes. So I think tweaking any types of information that you can sit and almost absorb bits of the sport that you don't really realise that you're absorbing. And that's partly where it wasn't I was doing homework. It wasn't that it was a chore. I just enjoyed reading it. But I think if you can start to recall things and remember things about what people said, about what sessions they've done, about who coaches them or where they're located, but also maybe just start building up that kind of profile. So the more you can read, I know obviously a lot of things are online nowadays, which is great in some respects because we've got access to even more databases, information. But there was something also about a hard copy of something. So whether you still get Athletics Weekly on a monthly basis or you still get, so I know some of you do club newsletters and things like that. So that's great. Again, if it is going to be your club that you're going to be maybe talking about events or local athletes. Thie was talking about the South Wales region. So having those understandings in the environment that you're going to be immersed in. But yeah, having that kind of wider kind of perspective of what's going on in the wider athletics community as well. It's just I think beneficial for just being a student of the sport. So that was me kind of where I started. Then in terms of always learning, again, we've all had different pathways. Some are on councils now, some are still running, some are coaching, some are doing all three. I was an athlete once, and so obviously learned a little bit through the athlete pathway, talking to people, learning from people. But then obviously as a coach now, again, my kind of understanding and seeing things from outside of just being an athlete, but from a coaching perspective, just gives you different things to be able to talk about, whether it's, principles of training, whether it's, the feeling that, athletes have at certain points in races or in certain events. Because obviously whatever you're doing, whether it's announcing or commentary, you're trying to build up, a bit of information, a bit of context. And often it might be people that are watching something that don't know what it feels like to run a mile race. So, what can you get across to them that from doing it yourself or what from coaching athletes in that respective event? Then it just adds value to that. So I always think about, you're always learning, whether it's talking to people. I did commentary on marathons for Eurosport before I'd ever ran a marathon. So and my background on how they should be feeling was based off, luckily, having great people, the likes of Steve Jones, to actually ask, having athletes that I'd coached, likes of Mike Callenberg and a few others that run marathons, just to give a bit of context to it. So, I think that you don't always have to have done something to talk about it. You definitely don't need to have done something to have confidence and know a bit about it. But the more you can kind of get a feeling, understanding. When I ran my first marathon in Snowdon a year and a half ago, I know it's probably longer than that now. It seems like a year and a half ago, but it's longer, 2 years ago. I suddenly realised everything that I'd been saying was true times by about 10. So again, by doing it, I've now got a much more appreciation of what athletes are feeling like, what mentally, what they're probably thinking, and so I actually feel probably better prepared if I was the commentator again on a marathon. having a bit of inside information on what the body's probably doing at certain points. But then, as I said, and some of you said you're not from athletics backgrounds. It's not essential that you felt it, but it is kind of good if you can go and talk to people and find out what they're feeling and what they're understanding. So for me, always a student of the sport, talked to everyone, read everything, raced and coached everywhere, loved my autobiographies, pretty much every running autobiography and other sports, cycling, football, cricket, rugby, all kind of to add a bit of value and, again, maybe just an ability to recall things as well. So 2009 was a period where I started working with Welsh Athletics, and actually I saw that event commentary and announcing was actually something that was often an afterthought. And Thie will know this for some events where you're putting events on, and actually it's the main blood obviously of getting an event off the ground is having officials. Often announcers sometimes get a second thought process. And actually, sometimes we ended up not having enough in the pool of people. So I ended up getting thrown in the deep end or throwing myself in the deep end where it was literally just pick up the mic because there was actually no one else to do it. So, but there is nothing wrong with that. If you get that opportunity to do that, any event possible, then it's great experience. Because I always think if there's no one else doing it, you're the best person that's going to do the job because no one else is going to do it. Therefore, any slight mistakes, any slight mispronunciations, and any information that's not correct, no one else was behind you going to step up anyway. So therefore, the more you can get involved and just do it. And I was super lucky just to have that platform where I literally just put my hand up or got involved with absolutely everything. Some of it I would have thought if I was to listen back, because luckily there wasn't probably too many recordings back then, I'd probably cringe at half of what I said, but I got great experience in doing it. I soon learned actually that don't worry too much. As long as you try really hard with someone's pronunciations and you're consistent with it, even if it's wrong. Also, just enjoying it. As I said, I think if you talk in a way that you would to anyone that you have an interest in athletics, and that's all it is. You're trying to put across your interest in athletics, and therefore, if you can do it with a bit of passion, a bit of enjoyment. Actually, 9 times out of 10, people aren't really, really listening to what you're saying. But the atmosphere of having someone there, giving information, obviously that result that you're reading out to that one athlete that might be a personal best, they're listening to that. But yeah, it's really important that you just don't worry too much. So every opportunity, pick the mic up, get involved. And it is a skill. It's a skill that you don't necessarily just become or start off the finished article. And, I myself, nowhere near the finished article, but you learn by doing it. And the more you can do, the more experience you get. We're lucky our sport is multifaceted, as in we've got track and field, we've got off track that can be obviously cross country, fell running, mountain running. Then we've got road running that, again, multiple different platforms, whether it's on a circuit, whether it's on a course. And so there's loads of elements. There's even track and field that is non-stadium where, track and field has been taken to city streets. It's been taken to, different areas of outside of a normal track and field. So there's lots of different opportunities there. But often it's something that, you might need to get involved, put your hand up with your club, get a mobile microphone system like Mr. Steve Brace, and literally just get some information out there. Adds value to any event where there's someone talking, where there's some information coming across. I always think it just adds value to it. And if you've got ability to maybe put some music on as well. We all turn up to events, and especially hopefully the events that we turn up to, in the next few months and year, everyone's going to be so excited. But having a bit of atmosphere there and welcoming those that are here, giving people a bit of information, I just think will just give us an even better experience. So obviously myself, first chance, I went to an announcing course, and you might see the drumsticks and think, what are the drumsticks for? So my announcing course was with a guy called Jeff Whiteman, who is still one of my kind of idols in commentary. So you would have heard his voice in the Diamond Leagues recently, in some of the international meetings. In Henglo, he was the voice trackside for the meeting. And so basically, at this announcers course, I think it was 2 days after I got back from the Commonwealth Games in Delhi, went to this course in Sutton Coldfield. and he gave us all a drumstick. And I was just about to eat it. I thought it was a nice gift for us all, but it was actually getting us used to picking up a microphone. So it could be a drumstick, it could be a highlighter pen, it could be anything, but it was just a prop for kind of getting used to commentating with something in your hand that is a microphone. So what your drumstick is tonight can be whatever you want. It could be a coffee cup, it could be an aerosol can. But yeah, that was, if this was a real life, we were doing this in person, I would give you a personalized drumstick. So next time I see you, I owe you all a suite of a drumstick. But then literally the October after that, I got a call from British Athletics saying, do you want to commentate at the UK inter-counties cross country up in Nottingham? I think it was 5,000 or 6,000 people were there on the day. I think Thie's been there multiple times with the South Wales team. And I had that split second decision of, I'm not really ready for this. I haven't really done much. Or, as my wife said, go and do it and see whether you can do it. So I ended up going and doing it, made some mistakes, absolutely loved it, realized actually being chucked in the deep end is never a bad thing. And then, yeah, a few other kind of gigs from that have, subsequently come from that. So if you get offered a big gig, take it, go and do it. Again, if you've been offered it, then they're only going to offer it to someone else, probably in exactly the same boat. So you might as well say yes and go and do it. And who knows where that might put you. So presently, what am I doing? Well, obviously the last 18 months has been absolutely rubbish for events. I've probably lost about 35 different events. So so my children aren't going on holiday anytime soon. But it's a good job we can't go on holiday anytime soon. So I'm lucky that they're just some of the event partners over the years that I've worked with. And obviously I did actually have a gig at the weekend. I did the 10,000 meter Olympic trials. I've got some paperwork that we can talk through a little bit about that as we go through one of the tasks. And that was great just to be event side. I've done a couple of British Milers Club events, and I'm actually at the British Milers Club tomorrow in Watford for one of their big events of the season. So we do have events back. But yeah, some of the events, the road running scene, things like the Swansea Half Marathon and beyond that, we're still waiting for green lights on many of those. So, but hopefully, you can start adding to your own kind of mini portfolio of events or opportunities that come your way. So, live announcing track and field, talked about that. Talked about obviously non-stadia, cross country, road races. There is a lot out there. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a breakout task. We'll see if this works. So I want us to think about these kind of four elements to putting together a kind of thought process between the kind of information you would need as an announcer. So I'm going to put us into two breakout groups. And I want us to think about, so if you've got a pad and paper there, so it's literally just some notes around these. So we've got a kind of 3 event group kind of columns. So we're thinking about our kind of stadia track and field. We're thinking about our kind of off track, which is obviously cross country, trail races. And then we're thinking about our road races. So if we think about announcing, think about who might be the stakeholders, as in if we're going to talk, who has an interest in what we're talking about, but also what would they have an interest in us talking about? So within that, what info is needed by that audience? Then, if we're thinking about info, some of it might be, from what we picked up in Athletics Wiki, but others might be what other sources of information do we have available to us that obviously links to where that, that information that we need, where can we get some of that information? And then also, what are the potential risks, as in, or issues? Nothing too major. It's just thinking about some of the things that we might need to consider along the way. There's just a few little ones that one of them I'll give you is Wi-Fi and it cutting out because obviously if you're going to rely on your Wi-Fi during a meet to get all your information, then same as doing a presentation. I'm actually running this meet now off this presentation off my phone now. So one of the things is to have a good contract with a network provider that you can always switch to if you need to manually. So that's a given. So I'm going to put you into 2 breakout groups. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this. So if you just come up with some, obviously, thinking about different stakeholders, there's going to be obviously similarities along the way. There's obviously going to be some information that's going to be a bit more bespoke to track and field. Think about issues-wise, though, might be about the environment, because obviously different environments in track and field, in off-road, as in road as well. And then what we'll do is we'll come back for a discussion and kind of unpick it and have a discussion around that. So next bit of technical issues we might have is me, obviously, you better put people into breakout rooms. So let's see what my ability to do here. So now we have breakout room option here. So I'm going to put 2 breakout rooms. It should create them 2. Yeah. So we've got a 3 and a 2. So it's going to be Chris, Thie, and Dylan in one room. It's going to be Connor and Kevin in another room. So 10 minutes on this. So time check, it's just gone just past 6, 6:32. So I'll call us all back in at 6:42. So have you got the notes? Have you got that on the screen? Have you written some notes about what we need yet? But again, just a little bit of discussion around that. Who, what, how, and issues. That would be fantastic. So fingers crossed. Next bit of technology happening now into breakout rooms. A bit of chat between, obviously got 2 groups, we can fire them in at once. So in terms of like track and field, obviously there's going to be crossovers, but who are our kind of stakeholders? Who are we trying to get information across to?
The athletes.
Athletes, absolutely. Yeah, I think athletes fundamental. Yeah, who else?
The parents and the coaches.
Parents, coaches. Yeah. What do you say?
Officials.
Yeah, I thought you said officials. Yeah, absolutely. Officials. Who else might have an interest? Yeah, spectators. First aid. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of different people there. Other stakeholders might be.
I mentioned about the public for some of the cross-country events where
yes. Yeah, just people that aren't even part of the event that just happen to be there. So so I mean, there's also people that might be whether it's local authorities or sponsors or people that have maybe helped the event actually get off the ground or happen as well. So there's there's obviously lots of different people, but each of those are probably going to require some slightly different information. So if we go with some of those that we've talked about, athletes, what type of information would athletes be interested in?
Any changes to timetables and the timing of their events?
Yeah, so, timetable, timings, absolutely. Yeah. Whether the meeting is on time is always a stickler, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. What any other bits of information? What about parent spectators?
Facilities.
Facilities. Is that in terms of like where to get coffee?
Yeah, toilets, changing rooms.
Yeah. All of the stuff that you might know because you've been to that event loads of times. But I think, having some kind of housekeeping. Knowing where, and especially in the current climate where there's probably a kind of footfall rule in terms of direction people can travel in. Might even be, numbers of people that can be in at certain spaces as well.
Parking.
Parking's another fundamental one. Often we make announcements about people that have not parked in the right place. Or just reminding people to put a ticket on their car. So obviously up in Nyack during a weekend in a normal non-pandemic year, if you don't put the 50p on your car parking, on your car, you could end up with a £25 fine. You might know that. You might think that everyone knows that, but someone driving from Sheffield for the first time it's not a great experience for them if they're going to end up with a ticket. So potential issue, that's one of those potential issues that don't assume everyone knows the arena. But yeah, those state could go for it. Who was that?
Layout as well. Track layout, James?
Yeah, track layouts. So there might be, there might be 2 shot circles being used, for example. So if you know where an age group should be heading to, certain events have something called a call room that athletes have to visit before they obviously go onto the track. Some events it's going to track. So all the information that you could get across to those that need it, and you obviously, if you've got hopefully a good PA system that can be heard, if there is a delay or there's an issue, that's relevant to the officials, it's relevant to the parents, it's relevant to the spectators, it's relevant to the athletes. It might be relevant to if there's a sponsor sponsoring that big grand event that is taking place at 3:00, and it's now not going to be at 3:00. Other people we didn't talk about might be media, might be there as well. So there might be the local guy from the Gazette, or it might be someone doing some filming. So again, you've got multiple people there that you want to get that information across. So sources of information, where are you going to find a lot of the information from?
So your timetable and your track layout, any sort of meeting manager information, so the officials.
Yeah, a lot of that information should be hopefully sent out to you before as well. Like, the timetable, you should have an updated version. Most meets it'll be the day before. Obviously having a track layout, prior to that. And also then just familiarizing yourself with the layout, even when you get there. Often going and getting that coffee that you might need in the morning, and also talking to the vendors that people are there as well, in terms of if there's a vendor tucked away, then obviously making sure that you know where they are. They obviously want you to know where they are because it's going to help. Could be that there's a couple of retail opportunities there as well, so directing them, and they might have certain sales on for that event, bespoke t-shirt, so maybe finding out about cost of a t-shirt, the cost of a hoodie, where they are.
Do you use that kind of information to fill the dead air then?
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing happening, there's no event on.
Yeah, that's a great shout, Dylan. It really is adding context, because you're not going to spend the whole day talking about just the timetable, and actually kind of almost making the other people feel valued. Because if you are, say, a vendor and you're paying to be at an event often, then obviously being actually kind of made visual by you, obviously, telling people where they are, what deals they've got on, even if you bought something from them a few weeks ago and it was a brilliant product or something like that, or you walked past them and had a nice chat with them, and and I think that if you can add value and a bit of context to the the environment you're in. Also, if you go back to, I think someone said about facilities, in terms of knowing where the toilets are. If the toilets over the far side are closed, and everyone's walking over to them, but you can save people the hassle of it, or if there is an issue with parking and you announce it. Often people have other people coming later to a program, so they might even be able to ring someone else and give them the heads up that the overflow car park is now being used. And I think it's just anything that adds value to that it's different parts of the day. Even knowing when when the coffee shop might close. I know at night out during event day, sometimes it closes at 4:00. So knowing that at 3:00, giving people the heads up just in case they were looking forward to that last coffee before their long journey back to Sheffield. Sounds a small bit of detail, but to them it can go a long way. Same with if you can get information prior to the event about events changing, whether some events have been put together, so amalgamated. Often that happens in hurdles races with age groups, or races actually get sometimes disbanded because there's not enough people. So again, officials often like to know that. They're often sometimes not the first to know about it. You might actually be in a control room where you're hearing that fresh off the information hotbed, so you can actually get that information. You're in quite a powerful position.
So you're hearing about a future event that's the following week, and you're passing information on about
Yes. I mean, that's another really good source of information, is linking events. Often events are not standalone. So again, talking about whether it's a series of events, whether it's, Chris and his, they might have different events that they want to promote. If you're working for a national governing body, then I'm pretty sure they have either another open meeting or another championship event coming up. And nowadays, often, even in the current climate, even more so, there's limited numbers for events. So the more you can get people to enter prior to obviously, missing out and entry dates, and coaches like to know. So there's lots of information. So any others to track and field, any other information that is sought after by our athletes or coaches or spectators? Yeah. So when presentations are going to be is again a really important one. No one wants to travel home having missed their presentation by 5 minutes. So again, if you can get that information across to them about when it might be. So obviously calling people to presentation, where it's going to be, and obviously, the timings of that as well. The other one is probably results, and obviously getting results out, to the spectators, to the athletes. Where might that source of results be nowadays? Sometimes, though,
open tracks, so straight online, straight away.
Yeah, so gone are the days of actually having to read out nearly all the results. That was probably a few years ago, or it used to be directing people to the notice board where the sheets are printed up. Now there is obviously most events are quite good at online results, and so it's you might still be giving out the top 3 or the results of the winners or important results, but you'd probably signpost people to the online platforms. Most people have smartphones nowadays or tablets, and actually people quite like that. That's something people like, because they often take pictures of them or post them or link them. Sponsors link them with things like hashtags and their own kind of media platforms. So that info needed and that kind of stakeholders and platform, it's very much, what you can link to digital wise now in terms of those platforms. And that information that, it doesn't take away the role of the announcer, but it might help you having to not announce, the top 20 qualifiers into the next round. Nowadays, signposting athletes to the results is actually a totally legitimate way of getting results out quickly to a wider audience, a lot quicker than a microphone system could be. Any potential issues with some of that information?
Incorrect results.
Yeah, incorrect results. Thie knows that. He's been in our events. Every event will have some result that's an anomaly, whether it's a number input gone wrong, whether it's an athlete wearing the wrong vest, wrong number. And so obviously the information you're giving out is as good as you have in front of you, but there's obviously going to be sometimes changes to that. And so, so just obviously making sure that if you do have those changes, that you can get that information out there. That's a normal occurrence. And even if you...
that information coming to you, will there be individuals there collating the results?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Dylan. And that's sometimes where, having a system of people, or knowing, say, for example, if there isn't an online system, who is going to be giving you results? Because if you're wanting to get the results out there to the general public and you're, sat on a system, and normally it's just a chat with a meeting manager, and obviously photo finish is maybe close proximity to where you are. And hopefully they can give you a copy of the results fresh off the press, and therefore you have them systematically. But it's like anything, don't assume that's going to happen. It will be one of the checklists almost of, if are there online results? No. Will I be given a copy of the results? Yes. Brilliant. Who's giving me the copy of the results? We've got this person, Thie Williams, is going to be the runner for today, giving results. Brilliant. Thie, I'm Dylan. I'm the comms for today, an announcer. Anything you can get to me information-wise is great.
A constant structure there, events organizer. You've mentioned runners of the individual.
I would like to say yes, and Thie's laughing. Other people are laughing because it's not always the case. Yeah. But there's normally someone that is the overriding organizer, and therefore that person should be. It's probably either the person you liaise with at the beginning, or the person that seemingly is doing the majority of the work on the day. So but there isn't. It depends obviously on the event, on the delivery. But it's a worth checking off who's going to get that information to you.
It's like being in Brecon, Dylan. Like the announcer's box in Brecon is 50 meters down the home straight, yet photo finish is usually in the van on the finish line. So you don't get, like James was saying, hot off the press results. Whereas when you're in Nyack, your announcer's box is right next to photo finish. So you're even hearing the conversation between photo finish. Has Thie beaten James, and how thick is that vest difference between the result? And you get that way, then you're getting the excitement of it as well. Whereas sometimes when it's so many yards away or whatever, you're struggling. So that's why I said in our breakout about location. So location of where the announcer or commentator box is.
Yeah, I think also the other one is, whether you have a roaming mic or whether you have a mic system that is a plug-in system, because obviously a roaming mic gives you that opportunity to go and roam literally, and maybe even place yourself next to the results. So don't feel like you have to be fixed to the ground. You can be mobile, obviously weather dependent, environment dependent, and a few other things, which actually brings us on nicely to cross country and kind of fell running. Anyone give any kind of potential issues with off-track events? I love the way you looked outside there. Wind and rain and weather. You expect the unexpected. Obviously, location, systems. There's obviously a lot of things that could go wrong. Stakeholders are very, very similar. The only stakeholder I might add to that sometimes is the person or the landowners that often have to give their land up as permission. So again, it's a courteous kind of thank you to them, but also making sure that people respect if they're out in a park or an area that sometimes they're of outstanding beauty, that you remind people to keep dogs on leads, you remind people to pick rubbish up after them. Because obviously
those
often
the kind of messages you'll drop in every hour or so just to, again, keep things flowing.
I think Thie said it earlier, that also there's people, just general public, that are just there for their Sunday or Saturday walks. And actually they quite like a bit of information about what's going on, but it's almost then, sometimes you see them cutting across a course or breaking a tape down as the herd of athletes are chasing down towards them. So there's a bit of safety element to it as well. And so again, what you're seeing and kind of calling, you're not always going to be given a script or a checklist to do yourself. Sometimes it might be from just your own knowledge. And I think, having that kind of respect of the land that you're in. And obviously, I mean, for most events, we want to be back there the next year. There's a lot of issues at the moment going on, in terms of permissions of things like park run, because obviously it's keeping the environment safe. It's keeping the people safe. It's foot flow of people. It's foot flow of parking. And so, I think just being mindful of that environment with off-track events. It is quite a good one. Source of information, again, talking to the event organisers about that, knowing a bit about the event background, again, itself. The event programme might also allude to it. And the potential issues of making sure that you've got different ways of getting information. We didn't mention, for probably source of info, things like Power of 10, Run Britain. But you're going to need, Wi-Fi or an ability to source that. If you're printing off lots of notes and it's teeming down with rain, what capability have you got? Are they in plastic wallets? Can you see them? Can you read them? They're all the things that I've been found out before when it was a nice sunny day when I left the house. And by the time I got to Singleton Park, it was raining buckets, and my lovely lot of notes suddenly become lovely bits of paper mache. So best laid plans and all that.
Can I ask, I thought you were deliberately keeping away from PVs and clubs and coaches and stuff like that. Is that straying into commentating rather than announcing?
No, it's a great question, Kev. And actually, I think that it's a good opportunity to mix this now. I think that source of information, I think we did a bit of announcing lane draws. You can't do that for every single event because obviously sometimes the flow of meets is so busy. But there might be certain key events that, if you can introduce people in terms of personal bests, and also if you can, if someone comes across the line and what their personal best was, or, even better, it's a club record or a national record, or that is fantastic. So that information, that source of info, now that source of info might be from the athletes themselves, it might be from coaches, might be from Power 10, Thie talked about open track now, that when athletes enter it, it already shows their personal best, season's best, tracks them. So we are getting better in the UK of a kind of tracking system where you're a click of a button away. I know we are with, Para 10, but actually results that show it, where, the result comes up and it tells you whether they've run a personal best or thrown a personal best. I think that anything that adds value. So I think if you think back to the stakeholder, if someone was a lap away from running the personal best, spectators get a bit more interested if they're hearing, this is on for, a personal best or a qualifying time. The athlete might hear it as well and be more motivated as well. That's a really good bit of information. It's probably not feasible and possible for every single athlete, every single race. I think knowing a little bit about, often there's standards or, whether it's, the rankings or positions or even places into the final, being clear about, what position people need to finish within to qualify for a final, just all adds interest to what you're saying, and also the athletes themselves and the spectators, that they're part of an event rather than just what the next event coming up is. But that's a really good question. But we'll come to that in a second, where announcing / commentary they're intertwined. And with some events, they're very much part of the same, the same role, as they say. So I think then the last one, road races, again, I think similar in terms of location. Some now are circuits. Those were at Pembrey a few weeks ago. It's obviously going around a road racing set or a bike circuit now. Some obviously are out and back. So it might be where that information is coming from, whether it's a tracking system, whether there's a spotter out on the course. And again, another good system, Run Britain, obviously adds value to it's more of a road racing platform than Para 10. But anything, again, that adds value to that. Road racing often tends to be a little bit more mass participation as well. So again, that information that's going out to the masses, that might be regarding waves, might be regarding hydration, where there's water stops, gel stops, even just the protocol of coming across the finishing line and moving across the finishing line after. If we're talking about say the cross country, masses coming across the line at once, which doesn't tend to happen with track and field. So there might be small differences between the different event groups along the way. So there's some really good discussion there. And I think that, the kind of event welcome, the kind of whys, I think that an event welcome at the beginning is a nice way for you to settle the nerves in a way. Even the smallest of events, I still get a bit of nerves going into it. It's a nice way of just checking that you've probably done a pre-mic check, but it's a good check that the mic sound is of a good volume. And also just getting those kind of housekeeping bits of information out there to everyone that we talked about, and kind of sets the scene for maybe what's coming up later, and kind of understanding where that might, the different parts of the day might be happening. And so you can kind of then keep revisiting those. It doesn't just need to be once off. You can obviously welcome people as they come through. At the moment, we've got meetings that are multiple kind of groups of people coming in. So it's almost a script that you will keep going on, because people don't come at the very beginning and stay the whole day. There'll be people coming at different parts of the day sometimes.
You've got different age groups arriving.
Different age groups, and even different waves for certain events. So obviously welcoming people, that information is, I think, going back to your question earlier, Dylan, that it's constant kind of information in there. But I always do like a good welcome at the beginning, just as I said, more than anything, just to settle your nerves and kind of get things kind of kicked off. So it might be introducing you, might be naming the event. So as a bit of a practical, 5-minute practical. So these links here, if I can go to, if I can stop my sharing. He says, where is stop sharing? So, right. I knew I'd do that. Oh, no, not that one. And show. So I've cut and pasted this. So I'm going to cut and paste the events. There we go, into that. So you've got a choice very quickly to go and have a look at 4 events. And I want you to think very quickly about the information that you might introduce the crowd to at the beginning. So it might just obviously be a bit of background about where we are, even though people know where they are because they've obviously gone there. Any quick bit of information about the events, then it's literally a 30-second to 60-second quick intro. And I've given a bit of a range there. We've got a mountain running event. We've got a 5K series event in Pembrey. And then there's a couple of track meetings there. So I think if you can click on the link, scribble down a quick bit of notes very, very quickly. And then we'll just take it in turns just to introduce our welcome to that event in 30 to 60 seconds maximum. So a couple of minutes, quickly make some notes, and then you'll be introducing us to that event and a little bit of information about it. But don't go to town on it. It's just, again, to give us an opportunity just to speak into the world of Zoom talks on a Friday. I
can go if
Kevin's ready. Love that, Kevin. Yeah. Go on, you kick us off. Come on. So where are we, Kevin? Tell us where we are.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here in Newport Stadium in lovely South Wales. Today we've got under 13s, 15s and 70s, male and female. We've got a range of events today, short sprints, some hurdles. We've got jumps, we've got throws, we've got middle distance. What more could you want from a day's activity? So I hope you enjoy your day. I'll be back later to fill you in some more.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kev. That's great. I love that. Nice bit of enthusiasm. And I'm waiting. I can't wait for you to get back on the mic again and tell me what's coming up next. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And we are in sunny Newport.
Well, where the rain is sideways.
Yes.
Can I go next?
Go for it, Dylan.
Okay, so I picked so here we are in Pembrey, beautiful sunny West Wales, right on the coast. And today we've got the 5K series starting off with the women at 1:15, followed by the men at 2 p.m. This is a closed circuit race, closed road circuit. So I'll come back to you with more information throughout the event.
Thank you, Dylan. We're off. I love that.
Okay, I'll go next, but I'm also Pembrey.
Do it. Let's go.
So you'll hear it again.
You'll probably be running there, won't you?
Well, okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the lovely Pembrey Country Park. It's a lovely setting for a series of events, and this is the second in the series on a closed road circuit. A lovely sunny afternoon, welcoming everybody to the start lines. The ladies' race will start at 1:15 and the men will go off at 2 p.m. Obviously, everybody needs to stay safe, so there's socially distanced rules in place. The seeded runners will go first, and chip timing is in place. So everybody enjoy the day, and we hope you have a great time.
Brilliant, thank you, Chris. Lovely, brilliant.
I'll jump on now. Go on, James.
Go on, Thie. All the way. Go for it.
Okay, so welcome all. We're at the Open Welsh Junior Mountain Running Championships. We're in lovely Devil's Bridge, close to Aberystwyth. And so I just want to welcome everybody up to this beautiful area of the land where the Welsh actually scared the devil away. So we've got our junior international youth camp. So a very warm welcome to our international friends as well. Croeso I Gymru.
Love it. Brilliant. Bit of Welsh chucked in there as well. Nice one, Thie.
Yeah, I don't mind going next.
Connor, you're up next, bud. Yeah, brilliant.
Awesome. So hello and welcome to Newport Stadium today, where we have got a range of track and field events for under 13s, under 15s and under 17s, doing everything from the short sprints to the longer 1500. And on the field, we've got the range of javelin and discus. The event today will start on the field events at 11 o'clock and we'll update you from then on.
Brilliant. Guys, everyone absolutely smashed that. So nice bit of introductions. Any nerves are all parked there. And then obviously you're there set to come in with some more information as we go. So nicely done with that task. So difference between announcing and commentary. I think Kevin talked about that or kind of alluded to it. Now, what do we think might be some of the differences in a way?
announcing is before and after a race or an event?
Yeah. I think announcing before and after, it's quite factual. It's kind of information based. Whereas our commentary is obviously what is kind of happening now. Not all events kind of call for commentary, so there is a bit of a kind of kind of line that with commentary, it's not. You don't need to be like a TV commentator when you're commentating on live athletics, for example. There is obviously some differences between that. But anything, I think, and Kevin asked a really good question about personal bests and about performances, about clubs, whether it's coaches. I think anything that adds value whilst people are competing, I think is absolutely great. And so, you won't have to commentate as someone throws a javelin, but you might want to kind of draw attention to and look at the distance that the javelin just gone out to, or wait for the official result to come up on the screen. Kevin Burke's already got a season's best of 47.30, but I tell you what, that looks towards a lifetime best of 50 meters. And the results come up, yes, 51 meters, that's a new lifetime best. So it would add value to it. But as he came up to throw, you wouldn't need to talk about angles of release with Kevin's throw. You wouldn't need to go into so much detail and break it down aesthetically. So there's still a difference between you're still announcing the results, but you might be adding a bit of kind of value and colour to it. Same in cross country and road racing. You're basically probably giving a lot of positions and performances and information as it goes through. Again, because it just adds a nice bit of context to the event. Being careful sometimes that the information you're giving to the athletes isn't something where commentating whilst people are on the track at a live event, not being too descriptive about distances that athletes have from other athletes that they can't necessarily see. Whereas obviously if you were commentating on TV, an athlete can't hear what you were saying on TV. So it's being clear that you're giving it factual information almost to the event, but it's not kind of, you don't need to commentate. But then there are kind of a bit of blurred lines, and Thie knows this with some of our events where you can commentate sometimes to a degree. So I think it's knowing the context, it's knowing the environment, but it's also, I think, don't go with the pressure that you have to commentate. It's probably fair, Thie, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially certain things like a junior event where you don't know too much about the athletes, so you can't really commentate too much about them.
Yeah, I think that's a good. That's a really good point, guys.
Say the Welsh 5K championships, where it's a who's who of Welsh athletics on there, then especially if you know about them as well, you're going to be able to say a lot more. And then you can also raise the excitement. The parents and that are going to raise the excitement for the kids on the side of the track anyway. The other one I was going to add, James, as well, is knowing when to shut up as well.
Absolutely, I like that.
Coming from, obviously, because myself that I've started officiating as well. So it's nothing worse for a starter who's just about to call a load under 1,300 meters, and James Thie comes on the mic just to blurb on about something, and you've just called the kids to set, and you're about to let that gun go. And so it's not kind of knowing the timetable inside out to then be like, right, the hundreds are going on. I can't see what's going on. I'm going to have a glance over to the hundreds, or especially at Nyack. Like Nyack's brilliant spot because you've got the pole vault bed right on where the 300s go. And sometimes you can't see that the athletes are on the track ready to go. So it's just being mindful about what's going on.
I can imagine that being quite a headache, really, on an event where there's lots of stuff going on. That's
where then, like, announcing and commentating, you kind of got to pick and choose. So the under 15 leagues, almost like, it's a brilliant place to start, but also one of the hardest places to start because it is like the OK Corral, where everybody's just shooting off with starters because there's so many races to go through, and it's just bang after bang. You've got to rattle through the races.
Yeah, I think that's where some really good points there by Thie, as in being alert. If you can, obviously working in a team as well, partnership, as in commentating with someone else who can be visuals at certain times. Listen out for the whistle of the start team, which is a great indicator, obviously, that you've got to shut up and maybe take the music down as well if there is music. So I think also just, you know, if you don't know too much, I think Thie's right there in terms of juniors, then just giving them some encouragement and just saying, you know, what a great job they're doing, and hopefully then enjoying it to come back again, because obviously we're as much about participation and wanting people to enjoy the experience than we are about performance. The person coming last in the event, you know, you want to make them feel as if they're having a good experience, as opposed to just it being about the performance up front. But some really good points there. So commentating, obviously, you know, in terms of track and field, there's a video that might be coming on now. Let's see if I can get it playing. But expect the unexpected. This wasn't me commentating, but if you look at, there's a man that jumps out during the world record of Wilson Kipsang, and a guy wearing a T-shirt from not a very good website jumped out in front of Wilson Kipsang, breaking the world record. Now, I was on Eurosport commentating live for this, and it was almost what I wanted to say, what I thought I might have said. You know, some things that you might say very quickly to a situation obviously could involve swear words. They could involve certain, you know, kind of things that could be taken the wrong way. So it's almost having a delay and expect the unexpected. Now, that's obviously an extreme of TV and a world record. But again, we had an event in Nyack 2 years ago where a child ran on the track during a 4x200 meter relay and was almost hit by the athletes. Now, obviously, it was an issue, but drawing attention to it too much also then creates an issue with it. So there's lots of things, almost expect the unexpected. Also in road races, you sometimes get people collapsed in through hydration, through injuries.
Pacemakers continuing when they should have stopped.
Pacemakers, I hate that. So I think like anything, it's expect the unexpected. You know, and yeah, there's certain things that, you know, when you know, the luxury of obviously having monitors or seeing things on screens is great. But I think whatever level of talking that you're doing, just have that almost that 1 second, 2 second filter first. Don't just say what you see, process what you're doing, saying. Because I'm, you know, 10 years ago when I started, I don't think most things are being recorded. Now I think most things are being recorded, whether they're trackside at Aberdare or obviously whether you're on Eurosport. So yeah, just go for it.
Ever in your history, did you ever go back and watch things when you first started doing this? Did you go back and watch things and actually practice commentating on something that had already happened just for yourself, you know, to sort of?
Well, that leads me on very nicely to our next task. It's as if it happened. So this is one of my practices for, it was an online 60 meters at Nyack that was recorded. And I actually, this is 10 years ago. So it's on my YouTube channel. So I know that for certain. So this is me putting a voiceover, a race.
That might actually be one of my starts.
I can't hear anything.
No, there's no volume, James.
Oh.
When you shared, did you share it with audio?
Was that not right? Let me go. So those share with audio. Where would that be? Oh, share sound. Right, there we go. Okay, so back to that again. Let me know if you can hear me this time. Can you hear audio this time?
Welcome
Yes.
to Buick GP1 Christmas Classic. This, the Santa 60 attempt on the world record. And they're off. A fantastic start by Santa in lane 1, being chased by Santa in lane 8. And it's Santa in a time of 7.82 seconds. It's a new world record here in the Buick GP1 Christmas Classic, supported by Welsh Athletics.
So that's me recording something over a video that's happened. And it's funny, I'm so glad you said that, Chris. It's almost as if I gave you a script to ask for that. So I would go and do that with various clips. I was commentating live at that event. Thie knows that anyway. So I did live commentary, but I went back and had a few plays of it as well. But it's one thing that you can obviously do nowadays with our technology on our phones, on our laptops. But as a takeaway bit of homework. So right, so a bit of homework. Oh, where are we? Oh, there we go. So I want you to pick any 60-second clip of athletics, not to be done now, but to go and do it in your own time. Watch with the sound down or low, and basically record your own commentary. So, and then listen to it back. Now, to show that hopefully I've improved in 10 years, I've done this task for you, and I basically picked, you can't pick anything better than Usain Bolt. So I literally did this afternoon.
Away first time of asking. Not a great start by Bolt, but now up to full running. The chase is on his right. It looks like it's Gay, but he's not going to get there. Pow third, but it's Bolt taking it. And look at the time. It is a new world record. And there he goes round the bend. The energy in those legs. It's legal. It's plus 0.9. But look at the time. The first man on the planet to run the 100 meters in 9.5 seconds, and it is 9.58. The crowd are loving it. We're loving it. Wow, we are almost speechless here in the commentary box. And look at that, enjoying the moment, a smile, a clap. And I tell you what, if there is an any more popular man than this man on the planet, on the athletic circuit, you'd be hard pushed to find him. There it is on the screen, Usain Bolt of Jamaica. 9.58. Powell looks disappointed with third. So does Tyson Gay, 9.71. A new national record for silver. That's the quality of performance needed just to get on the podium now. And there is Powell, bronze medal today. And a dance, but again, has to play second fiddle to the champion select, Usain Bolt.
So hopefully that was a one take this afternoon. So hopefully you can see a bit of a difference between, it's exactly almost 10 years since I did that first one to the next one. I'd like to think I've improved a little bit, but it kind of shows you where, you know, having a play with it, whether it's whatever clip you want to get offline, it could be anything from your local 5K, if it was anything recorded, to, you know, the world records that happened at the weekend. There were 2 over 48 hours, over 10,000 meters with the women's. Don't need to commentate on the whole of it, but it might, you know, might help just add a bit of value and spice and a bit of interest to what you're doing. So any comments? Was it better second time around?
It was brilliant.
Thank you. That was in the script as well.
The excitement over Santa is the best one, James.
But which lane?
In Cardiff.
Which lane?
Exactly, which lane won it? But yeah, so Chris, I answered your question.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Start it, and yeah, hopefully you progress. And as I said at the very beginning, it's a skill you kind of hopefully learn, develop over time. So
can see that.
Away first time
without watching that again. So the last part of kind of talking about elements that come into things and events often might be, you know, some interviews. I've been lucky to interview the likes of Chris Coleman, there's Chris Evans, but often even the smallest events will have some kind of prize giving, whether it's obviously the top 3, whether it's the first veterans, whether it's a team prize. So yeah, pretty much most of our events will have some kind of prize giving presentation. And I think it's our kind of duty, if we're in that role and responsibility of announcing, that we can kind of, you know, give a really good experience. So obviously making it a clear presentation, making sure we've got the results right as best we can from the event organisers, and making it clear. Obviously sponsors and partners and spectators and friends and family and the athletes themselves love a presentation. Anyone that says they don't, they're lying. And therefore, if you can do it in a nice, positive and vibrant way, and it's obviously coming towards the end of the event sometimes, so it's kind of closing out the event itself. So interviews themselves, so you might be put under the cosh of whether it's the lead athlete, or so you might have some go-to easy questions of how did you enjoy that event? It might be, you know, was that the performance that you were looking for? Or, you know, the performance was a lifetime best because you did your homework, like Kevin said. So, you know, how's it feel to, you know, to throw a personal best? And then, yeah, if you get thrown in the deep end with someone like Chris Evans, again, they're going to want to talk. So you don't need to say much. They just know what to say because that's their game. So, and you know what? Most of those people are lovely people, actually, and they're quite humble. So don't even think about them being a superstar. They're quite sort of honest. And actually, they're almost out of their comfort zone by being at a race or an event because that's not their normal day-to-day place of work potentially. So yeah, go in with some confidence, maybe a couple of pre-planned questions, and then the good one is, and we'll see you next year. And hopefully they're yes, I'm definitely back next year. That's always a good one. Any questions on that?
This is great when obviously there's a roving mic, James, especially on the track. So you've got, say if it's me and you working together, you can be commentating up in the box. I can then be catching Joe Breyer straight off the medal presentation or whatever it may be. And I think that's where we miss out. People can miss out on times, especially inspiring some of the younger kids at an event.
Yeah, and a little kid
up in the box.
Yeah, a junior performer. I mean, it's a great experience for them to, I love chucking the mic under a little, a lad that's just run a personal best. But you sometimes get the best responses, and they remember that. That's a good memory.
And that go on.
Go on, Chris, go for it.
That also holds for some of us seniors who are coming across the line, or some of us veterans, in fact.
Anyone. I think
feel really
anyone.
special. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it adds value to it. So our last practical of this evening. Now these are taken from my notes that are a bit crumpled because it was quite late by the time we finished up in Birmingham last Saturday for the Olympic trials and European Athletics 10,000 meter cup. So it's the same process that not everyone has to do it, but if you want to do it, obviously one of them or two of them have the results from the night on there. If you wanted to do the women's team, you could literally make it up. You don't need to go through the name of all the athletes. We didn't actually with the one on the bottom right. So we just did nations because the results weren't done in time for us to have all the athletes. So if anyone wants to have a go, so for some events, and actually for most events, it's quite helpful sometimes to have a bit of a script for presentation because it obviously means that you know who's presenting the award. You obviously get the name right of the event at the beginning. That might be a sponsored name. Or it might be run by a club. But then also you might have someone special that maybe organised it that is quite good at presenting. But then obviously having a format that brings you into a nice kind of consistency with the presentation. So would anyone like a go at one of the presentations from last week's European Team Championships over 10,000 metres?
Silence. I'll have a go at the individual men.
Go for it, Chris. Go on, love it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're welcome to the victory ceremony for the Muller British Athletics 10,000 metre championships. Presenting the bonsai trees, we have Joanna Coates, the CEO of UK Athletics. Our bronze medalist representing Leeds is Emile Keres. Silver medalist representing Newham and Essex is the fabulous Mo Farah. And our gold medalist and 2021 champion representing Richmond and Zetland is Mark Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge our 2021 medalists.
That's Chris, well done. That's a brilliant bit of presenting. So well done, Chris. Absolutely awesome. Anyone else fancy a go? Anyone fancy doing the men's team results? Anyone else?
Go on, I'll do it for you, James.
Come on, Thie. There you go. Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, just want to draw your attention to the victory ceremony for the European Athletics 10,000 metres Cup. Presenting the trophies to the winning teams will be Cherry Alexander, OBE, and Vice President of UK Athletics. Taking the bronze medal, it will be the Spanish team, comprised of...
Yeah.
Silver medalists will be Great Britain. That's Emile Keres, Mo Farah, and Mark Scott.
Nice. That's good info. That is. I like that. Yeah.
And our 2021 champions and taking the gold medal will be the French team, comprised of. Can you all stand for the national anthem of France, please? Ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge our 2021 medalists.
Thank you, Thie. I love what you did there you used knowledge from the previous result. So you thought on your feet there. I like that. So is it anyone else want to go, or are they quite happy with the ones that have happened already? Okay, so fantastic work. So I think that these are good examples of, and don't expect always and very often to be given one of these. But if you wanted to write your own ones, if there is a presentation happening, and you obviously knowing who's presenting them is a really nice one as well. Knowing who they are, obviously where they are in terms of their role. And then obviously, doing it in kind of, progressing order from bronze, silver, or, third, second, first. And then again, that nice kind of, ladies and gentlemen, please acknowledge our medalists. It's just a nice way of kind of rounding it off. And then you've got consistency into the next presentation. So it's just a nice way of doing it. So tools for the trade. So clipboards, maybe ones that have obviously a weatherproof top to them as well. An event folder, so obviously having previous events or information, so it might be pacing charts, it might be statistics, it might be just reams of paper, pens, lots of them, highlighters, different colored pens, anything that's going to help you learn. Could be post-it notes, anything that you can do bits of information as you go. A laptop, a phone with good connection. I've proved that today as I run this presentation off my phone. A printer is often a good thing to have at home. Reason being, most of the information you get sent at 10 o'clock the night before the event. If you're in work, it's a bit too late to print it then. So having a home printer can be beneficial. All weather clothes is obviously in any climate in the UK is essential. Snacks, you don't want to expect to get fed at an event. It's a nicety if it happens, but taking a flask, having some snacks, because your energy levels are going to be reflected in your commentary and announcing. If they run low, then you're going to sound like you're tired. If you obviously fueled with lots of sugar, if sugar is your thing, then that's going to help you. And I love the emoji that's given me for drinks. That's actually saying hydrated.
I can see you with a martini.
Chris is like, yeah, I like that. I like the fact he's got a martini. So that's for after the event, obviously, not during your announcing. Otherwise, that could obviously slur your words. But I think staying hydrated. Now it sounds ridiculous, but on a hot day, on a busy day, if you're doing back-to-back days, drinking water and staying hydrated, you've got to think of yourself a bit like a performer. If your voice goes, the event announcing goes. So staying hydrated, drinking little and often is really important, and keeping those vocal cords lubricated enough to keep. And then obviously, if you do a great job, go home and have that martini. That's an absolute must. So start when you can. It's never too late. No event too big, too small. All is great practice. Read, and read a bit more. Following key athletes, coaches on social media, and obviously the key organisations is really good. Watch the last year event where you can, or if there's information on the last year's, finding the results from the last year is really beneficial on Power 10. Turn the sound down, do some TV commentary. That thing I did with the Santas was actually a tip I was given by Steve Cram, that he still does that now. He rarely listens to athletics on TV. He watches it, but he commentates whilst watching it. Almost every event he's watching, he's commentating, which I've got this vision of everything Steve's commentating on. He's whether it's a TV advert that he's commentating. So practice on those video clips. Listen back. You might not like it, but it might help you. And often you're kind of pleasantly surprised, and you will get better. Pre-rehearse key lines or things that might happen. If you're expecting a record, obviously making sure that you maybe know the pronunciation of the athlete's name or what those records might be. Speak clearly, show knowledge, understanding. There might be times where you need to show passion and empathy. People's dreams or performances, it falls apart. Sometimes people drop out. I was commentating last week whilst Jake Smith dropped out in the 10,000 meter race. So I had to show passion and empathy whilst obviously still commentating and concentrating on the event in hand. So you have to kind of remove yourself, but be in the moment as well. Be impartial. Don't be too sided to one thing or the other. Expect the unexpected, and just enjoy that, because I think if you enjoy it, it will come across. As I said, don't worry or dwell on any mistakes. You will say the wrong person's name. You will say the wrong person's result. You will get a timetable thing wrong. I know by probably the first hour of commentating tomorrow, I would have done all three of those things at probably one of the biggest meets in the UK. But you know what? I won't dwell on it for a second, because if you're gonna speak 1,000 times in a 4-hour period, you're going to say a couple of things wrong. That's just inevitable. Dust it off, go again. Not everyone can do it, or not everyone wants to do it. So you're doing a great thing by even just picking up the mic and getting out there and being part of the event. So where will your journey take you? Whether it's my Subbuteo and Athletics Weekly, to drumsticks, to getting rained on at Swansea, to Highgate, we were on a double-decker red bus, to chatting with the brilliant likes of Joe Pavey, Andrew Butchart there. And whether it's just helping your local events, I think that the more we can just get information out there, the more it inspires people, the more people enjoy running and throwing and jumping, then to me, that's an absolute winner of everything. So small acorns, you never know, it might grow into a giant tree. So look at that. We've done over an hour and a half. I thought this would be an hour job. I don't know why. I thought that we
I've just seen on Instagram as well. Yayan's finished his session.
Right, guys. So honestly, brilliant crowd tonight. Love the engagement of everyone. Really grateful for you giving up your Friday evenings to talk about announcing, to talk about commentary, presenting awards. Any questions from the floor before you go and have your martinis?
Just a thank you to you, James, for taking the time to do it and sharing your experiences, because obviously I've known you for many years and through commentating, coaching and everything. And it's just grateful for putting the time out. I think over the years, especially at working at events, commentators, announcers are always the last thought of. And it's just getting more people out there to do it is key, really.
Brilliant.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure, Thie. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. No, honestly, great questions. As I said, your homework is that 60-second clip. Go and find a good one, and keep practicing. That's honestly the best thing. The best thing you can do is just get out there, keep practicing, and just keep enjoying it. So again, massive